welcome. I do want to, before we go into the next room, introduce you to our tours and also the leadership of the Lake Calumet Vision Committee, which is myself, Tom Shepard from Southeast Environmental Task Force, as well as Josie Anderson from Wetlands. And Diane Bantis from the National Park Service is also going to be touring with us today and leading one of the tours. So thank you all for helping put this together and also for leading these tours. So with that, why don't we move into the other room? There's already chairs there, but we can actually move it.
I'm Suellen Burns with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Some of you have heard me talk about Millennium Reserve before. I won't be too long. What we want to do is provide you with some context for Lake Calumet, what some of the opportunities are, and especially the momentum around what's happening right now that we think has some really exciting future possibilities for Lake Calumet and public access. So I'll go through this kind of quickly. I'm happy to answer questions afterwards, but I'm going to set sort of the stage for Lake Calumet and the opportunities there by talking about Millennium Reserve, and then Tom Shepard, who heads up the Lake Calumet Vision Committee, will talk about sort of where we're going next, both physically on the hike and how this all fits together. So, stop me if you want any more details, or we can talk about it. So, Millennium Reserve is a 210 square mile opportunity to transform a region in transition. This is the geography. It stretches from Roosevelt Road at the north end, southeast along the lakefront, then to the Indiana state border. Over this is right here is Park Forest, and then up this way. So it's got the Calumet region of Illinois, which you can see an inset above. See the inset map above the cousin? Right here. This is the Calumet region of Illinois and Indiana. Millennium Reserve takes up the Illinois side, but also stretches up along the lakefront as well, which is an area of interest and opportunity for the Department of Natural Resources. So Millennium Reserve is both this geography, but it's also a partnership of nearly 100 private, public, and nonprofit organizations who have all come together to stimulate economic growth in the Calumet region, to restore its natural ecosystems, and to develop opportunities for healthy and thriving communities. Many of you know that the Calumet region is an area of international significance ecologically. It includes one of the most important bird migratory flight paths in North America. I'm sure we're going to hear some more about that this afternoon, plus an amazing array of plants and animals and ecosystems. But post-settlement by non-Indigenous people, much of the ecological wonder of the region was uprooted. Settlement and regional development were really spurred by this area's strategic location and transportation. And ironically, though, that industrial development, some of which we'll see when we're outside, has left rare pockets of untouched areas that are very high-quality natural habitat and have lots of exciting opportunities. So within the Millennium Reserve geography, there are 40 threatened plant species, 20 threatened animal species, 14 different types of significant natural communities, 23 Illinois natural area inventory sites, and over 4,200 acres of wetlands. But the Calumet region is not known mostly for those ecological wonders. What it's known for is industry and commerce and the legacy that brought on. And there has seen better days. In the 1800s, the Calumet region began evolving as a heavy industrial area. Natural resources were mined, the lakefront and the waterways were altered, and ultimately the region became synonymous with the steel industry and also the railroad hub for the United States. And today, in addition to the rail conversion, it still lives in lots of rail infrastructure. There's 7 interstate highways, so there's lots of transportation and commerce opportunities in addition to this incredible wildlife that still exists. With the burgeoning industry that started in the 19th century, also came people of all shapes, forms, and sizes seeking a better way of life. And this patchwork of working class neighborhoods and people is still represented in the diversity within the Millennium Reserve geography today. A little known fact, some of you might know this, is that there's a spot in Millennium Reserve just a stone's throw from All Hill Gardens where our fine president started his community organizing career that was the northernmost stop on the Underground Railroad. There's no marker. Lots of people don't know about it, but it's one of the most important historical sites from an anthropological and people perspective in the region. And there's lots of opportunities to look at how do we celebrate that and incorporate that into the fabric of what people perceive in this region, which is positive people, diversity, opportunities, etc. Because, the bottom has really fallen out in the region in the last, or had in the last some years. So today, after a century of commercial development, the bottom really fell out in the region. The steel industry resulted, the Boston activities resulted in loss of 200,000 jobs. And landfills came into the region, and now for many people, it's considered to be kind of the perception is that it is a toxic dumping ground. It's a place where the air isn't good. It's a place where there's not a lot of opportunities. Also, with the demise of the steel industry brought vast acres of land that could be redeveloped. So brownfields and transportation opportunities. So amidst this, the blight that you see, there's also some really interesting opportunities, and particularly land that's available, much of which is directly adjacent to the transportation, water, road, and rail. So today, the Southeast Lakefront and the Calumet region has many challenges, but also many opportunities. Despite it being the industrial legacy, landfills and brownfields, nature still exists and has potential really to thrive. Just, I think, that way, correct me Tom if I'm pointing in the wrong direction, is the largest workery in the state of Illinois for the black Catamite in the state of endangered species, right there, which people are shocked about. The Calumet and by the way, it's at Indian Ridge March, right next to a landfill. And in fact, the black Catamite herons are thriving in this workery. The Calumet region is also the intermodal transportation center of the United States, with 5 major terminals and the capacity to continue growing. As the epicenter of Chicago's transportation system, there's incredible opportunities for business development, particularly manufacturing, and business that requires transportation infrastructure. So how do all of these things fit together into Millennium Reserve? Our focus is sustainable development and balancing the ecological opportunities with the economic and community development opportunities in the region presents forward-thinking opportunities to reinvigorate the region. We want to bring them all together, not just work on commerce, and not just work on ecology, and not just work on community development. So Millennium Reserve is just that. It's a 210 square mile opportunity to transform a region in transition, and we're not starting from scratch. We're building on the existing efforts of folks who've been doing work in this region for decades. We're looking at existing plans where there's been great thought in green manufacturing, in open space, in community development. These are just a couple of examples. Go to 2040, the Marquette Plan, the Calumet Area Land Use Plan, and we are building on those to create not a new plan for the region, but a shared action agenda. So, and the foundation of Millennium Reserve is President Obama's America's Great Outdoors campaign. He took a new approach linking conservation and recreation under America's Great Outdoors, which is trying to galvanize public agencies around existing local priorities. There's no new money, by the way, for Millennium Reserve or for America's Great Outdoors, in case anybody's had that perception, but it's to be smarter and more strategic and more focused about the resources that we all have to bring to the in the early program development phase, the Department of Natural Resources, my agency, started organizing partners around the shared vision and getting people excited and working with folks to start getting real projects done. The governor formalized a shared leadership structure last year by appointing a 22-person steering committee, and their role is to galvanize efforts around opportunities of regional significance. One of the opportunities of regional significance we see is Lake Calumet. So the steering committee is having the shared leadership structure, which includes our agency, a couple other people who are here today, like Tom Shepard, the South District Environmental Task Force, helps ensure that diverse interests and diverse stakeholders are represented. The steering committee they've been together just about a year, and they have 3 primary short-term focuses: to develop an action agenda, to zero in on tipping point projects of regional significance, and to identify resources to make those projects happen. Very specific, very focused. And the steering committee is complemented by a state agency task force with the Department of Natural Resources chairs. We're joined by the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the Department of Transportation, the Illinois EPA, and the Historic Preservation Agency. And our job is to align our resources behind the priorities that the steering committee has put forward, but also to be creative amongst ourselves too about how we can advance this agenda. The steering committee has focused almost exclusively on completing a report to the governor that recommends priorities of regional significance, as I mentioned. And that report will be released in the next few weeks. It's actually been finished. I don't want to steal the governor's thunder with what's going to be in the report, because that's his announcement. But I'll tell you, there are a number of focus areas that the report addresses in terms of priorities for the region. Those are stormwater management, trails, industrial jobs, the redevelopment of brownfields, national heritage and national park designations, environmental education, expanded recreational opportunities, and rebranding the region. So, one second. As I mentioned, the steering committee's report zeroes in on tipping point projects for the region. There are many partners who have been doing really exciting work in the region for a long time. And I just want to touch on one example, and there's a couple more listed here of what does Millennium Reserve mean? What is it to have a collaboration and a partnership in commerce and environmental goals working in synergy? So I think an appropriate one for where we are today, and what we're about to see, is the Chicago Park District wetlands restoration. The Park District is working on 2 parcels at Big Marsh and Headbridge Marsh, both of which are just within, almost in sight distance from here. These parcels total over 400 acres and are right by Lake Calumet and provide critical habitat for wetland birds. The wetlands restoration is providing habitat and support nesting for rare species, which draw many birders to the region. For those of you who don't know, birders spend money. They're also incredible environmental stewards and lovely people. But the combination, when you provide quality habitat for birds, particularly wetland birds, particularly rare birds, you're taking care of the environment, but you're also attracting ecotourism and helping build the economy, because birders stop for lunch and they buy binoculars and they wear hiking boots and they get invested in the regions that they're in. So while it might seem like, it's really, how does that help the commerce? It helps it in a really big way. And so the Park District, along with a number of other partners, are working together, including the Department of Natural Resources, on the wetland restoration. These are a couple more: our green infrastructure, Green Corps Calumet, who's an incredible partner that does restoration work with individuals who have difficulty with employment. New funds for the network of Southland Trails in the region. Mighty Acorns, which is an amazing environmental education program Laura knows a little something about. And one of my favorites, the new Tillman Maritime Academy on the Little Calumet River, which is providing alternative education for young people, primarily African American and low income, who are not successful in the traditional academic arena, using a maritime curriculum to develop life skills, develop employment opportunities, and contribute to their communities. So I, of course, work for the Department of Natural Resources, so I'll tell you what our role is in all of this. We have provided funding, we provide technical assistance, we provide program development, we provide staff support, me, some of my colleagues who are here today, Michael and Diane and John, and have a supporting role in any number of other opportunities. Basically, our job is to listen, hear what people need, and then try and be proactive about what resources that we can bring to the table, but also to galvanize other partners. And through Millennium Reserve, we spend a lot of time. So, I'm almost done. One of the things that the Department of Natural Resources is most excited about under the Millennium Reserve banner is the opportunity for public access at Lake Calumet. Many more partners have come to the table in the last year as a result of the steering committee and growing community interest in how we can make this happen. So Tom has a different visual, but I'll show you just a couple things on this and then pass it over to Tom. So if you can see, so we are, I think, right here, the golf course. This is Lake Calumet. There's the, this part this is the Illinois International Port, actually this whole part. But this section of the port property and this section of the port property are not being used by the port district and is high quality habitat. This yellow line is a potential trail that could connect to, this is the network of trails in the South End region. The solid lines are trails that already exist. The dotted lines, which are many, are opportunities and trails that are in planning development. And there could be a trail right here that connects to this whole system, which is pretty exciting. And DNR is very excited about what the future possibilities are, and I will, where's Tom? Tom? I'm going to turn it over to Tom to talk about the partner's vision for what the Catamite can become and what we're going to see today.
Good, thank you. Thanks everybody for being here. This is really an exciting day. An exciting day to have community leaders, environmentalists, folks from industry, and our governmental agencies, and all coming together to see what the vision is that we've been working on for a number of years. And thanks to George Anderson and Open Lands for putting this together, because this gives you a visual idea of what we hope to see. And that's a lot of happy faces out here enjoying the surroundings of Lake Calumet. There's so many features out here. Those that are going to go on the hike are going to be able to see for themselves. There's a whole variety of wildlife and birds. Where's Diane? You saw a big buck out there last week when we were doing our dry run? Huge antlers. I didn't get it. I didn't see it, but we see other wildlife out here. But yeah, we've been working on this now for, I think it's been about 12, 13 years when we first formed the Lake Calumet Vision Committee and put together this Lake Calumet Vision, which we have copies in here for you. And it has a photo of or a picture of the nice map that you see up there in here. And it tells you a little bit about what the vision is. And it's really exciting that it seems like we kind of, I'm going to use a football analogy, and we started out down at the one end goal line, and we've got it down to maybe the 10-yard line now, and we just got a little further to go. We need to persuade or convince the folks right here at the Port District that this would be a good thing for the community, the people, for the restaurant, for business around here. It is already one of the top 3 priorities of the Millennium Reserve, along with opening up Pullman. And by the way, I didn't mention, I live in the Pullman community too, right across the road. And that's one of the 3 priority projects too, is to have Pullman as a national park. We're working on that as well. And the third one is about a Calumet Heritage Corridor, and this would really be the centerpiece of all of these projects that we're talking about. Opening Lake Calumet to the public would enhance the Pullman situation and the Calumet Corridor. So we would appreciate that you tell others, and as the message gets spread around and reaches the 5th floor at City Hall and down at Springfield, we have our legislators that we've been going around. I think maybe Suellen has mentioned it. We've been doing a lot of these presentations. This one I think is the most important right there, because we've got a great group of people here who can really carry the word out to others and help us to accomplish it. As you see, this lake can be used for canoeing, kayaking, bird watching, hiking, nice for the wildlife out here too. And today we're going to be joined on the hike with a busload of students from Leviso School, which is about 1.5 miles west of here, to show these children and to get children acclimated to what possibly can happen out here too, and to get them to join the outdoors. So all in all, it's a great project. We appreciate Suellen and the governor and the Millennium Reserve Steering Committee and the folks from the Lake Calumet Vision Committee for helping us to put this together. And have I missed anything, or do you think we have enough?
We have a couple minutes for questions, so if anyone has questions for Suellen or anyone else, please feel free to pick it up.
Thanks, Mayor. So yes, are there any questions? Where are those plants that we were supposed to have?
Oh, that's all right.
So we have representatives from our youth group in Pullman. Do you think the kids from Pullman would enjoy coming over here after we get our safe passage bike lane across the highway? And this is open once again for the community. I know they would, yeah.
Well, thank you everyone again. What we will do then is start turning to actually loading the buses for those of you who are staying. The bus is right outside the front door, I believe. So we're going to do this in 2 shifts because there's more people coming for the second bus ride. But you all get to go on the first bus ride. And we'll go with Diane and also Durs. We'll also have the microphone here. So Durs, you want to hold your hand again? And Diane, where are you?
I'm right here.
Oh, here you are. Okay.
You guys already know that I'm the herder.
And if you have, Walter, raise your hand. If you have a question about birds, if you see something that you'd like identified, Walter can help you out with that.
Okay, well, thank you again, and then we can load outside the door after you together in the other room. Thank you.
About the Port Authority kind of gravitate towards me, but those of you, who know the background here, don't feel like we have to stay in a group. We're allowed to walk up and down this dike up until we get close to the building at the other end, and then we can't go any farther. So, welcome. It's good to have you here. We have, anywhere from a half hour to an hour to visit.
I think a heron just went over.
Yeah, there's herons, cormorants, lots of.
Walter, where's the pelican?
What?
Where's the pelican?
See where the eagle nest is? Okay, we're looking.
Oh my.
I come from his home state, but unless you go out to the Gulf itself, you don't see pelicans in Louisiana anymore.
Great. I thought maybe an egret, but a pelican. Whoa.
Yeah, really, huh? How cool is that? There's a pelican.
Yeah, I saw it. It's so great. What a treat.
You have to pan right past it. Yeah, just there. Hold on. Okay, pan right.
Yeah, it's right in the middle. Who wants to see it?
Walter, how common is that out here?
Well, every there's always a bigger story to everything. The pelicans.
Eagles! 2 eagles!
Okay,
Yeah.
eagle.
2 eagles!
Out there.
2 eagles. Okay, excellent. And that's the
Yes!
nest. So
So it wasn't the
So,
first
yeah,
bird, but the second
yeah, but the nest is there,
Yeah.
so they are. Hey, well, let's see if any of them land. And that'd be nobody even heard you, I don't think. But let's see if they
We
come
did,
up.
we did.
We'll shout loud if they come out. No cormorants. Okay. But anyway, the backstory on pelicans is that, say 30 years ago. Oh, there's pelicans flying now.
Yeah.
Say 30 years ago, that would have been an extremely unusual sighting, but not anymore. They have expanded eastward. They were normally centered in the Great Plains, and western Illinois now has thousands of pelicans, and they're nesting along the Mississippi River now, and so it's they're not so common in Cook County, but we get them once in a while. But they'll probably increase. But you know what the other part of that equation is? One of the reasons that they may be expanding is because they are feeding on Asian carp.
Whoa.
Great view of the turn.
Yep. Where did those eagles go?
Yeah, they both
That way.
flew up together. I was just so lucky. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Two. So what are our guys over there?
That's their nest from the here.
Okay.
Yeah, now the thing is, interesting though, because it doesn't appear that they're using the easier. But if
Yeah, they
it's
went
more,
farther in.
Can
yeah, keep looking for that easel. Yeah.
And there have been some discussions about doing a truck, a rail transfer facility, and that may
Apparently not. This is the same pair. I believe that this is the same pair.
potentially realistic proposed estimate.
But I haven't heard anything around here. But I checked the gun range about a month ago.
Difficult piece of property,
But no eagle as far as I can see. But there's nothing in the area. Here.
So now they're reassessing really what do we do with all this property.
Correct, and that.
And the mayor, has appointed new chairmen, some new board members, the governor appoints board members to the Port Authority as well. They're trying to figure out how do they get out from under this financial burden.
But at this one,
They probably have, depending how you count it, there's probably somewhere between $40 and $80 million of liabilities that they have to fix up, including cleaning up hazardous waste, repairing seawalls, the loans from the state. And so they're scrambling, trying to figure out what to do. They've only had one potential serious offer for their property, and that project failed about a year or so ago. The company that was a Denver-based firm pulled out. So they're out there marketing the property, trying to renegotiate it. Under Mayor Daley, the whole north end of the lake, including this peninsula behind you with the tree line, as well as that, if you go way off to the right, which looks more like grassland, these are the two peninsulas that are in the City of Chicago adopted land use plan as open space. And that was done in 2001 under Mayor Daley's administration. Up to 2005, there was a Calumet restoration plan, Calumet open space reserve plan that was also adopted by the City of Chicago that includes this property, still designating this open space, including the dike that we're on, as well as a lot of other wetlands, big marsh on the other side of Stony Island that we just drove down. Many other properties are all part of the Calumet Open Space Reserve Plan. All of those, I think I'm saying this right, all of those properties in the the Calumet Reserve Open Space Plan of the City of Chicago have all been protected. They've all been acquired in the last 10 years by the Chicago Park District. Most are going to be maintained by the Chicago Park District. There are native prairies. There's very good bird habitats. The birds come and go, depending on whether we have a drought year, depending on what water levels are. And Walter can talk a lot about the details of that. But this is incredible bird habitat. We're all standing on landfills, so this is not native prairie habitat. And this would become a large restoration project, probably with prairie plantings and savanna plantings, but it's primarily going to be focused on expanding bird habitat and improving bird habitat. This is a freshwater lake that's connected to Lake Michigan. The potential Lake Sturgeon coming into this lake is there. There have been sightings of Lake Sturgeon going up Indian Creek into Wolf Lake. Indian Creek's about this deep, and they struggle up Indian Creek to get into Wolf Lake. Well, they could just go right up the Calumet River in deep water and get into this lake. Simple. But, we would need to create habitat structures that encourage sturgeon. So this has all kind of opportunity as habitat that's recognized already. But the other big side of the equation is, you know, access to this property, which historically was used by all the surrounding neighborhoods, all the industrial steel workers. Everybody who was out here was using this for hunting and fishing, sailboating around the 1900 turn of the century. There are remnants of old hunt clubs, little bars and neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods that are remainders of the old private hunt clubs that are still there. You can go over there and still get a beer, look out the rear window, and you feel like you're in Wisconsin. Those are situated along Wolf Lake, but all of these large lakes were used by the community. So when the Port Authority, you know, started putting up the razor wire, excluding the community, I mean, that didn't sit well. Especially since they haven't done anything with this for 50 years. And that's what's kind of begun to set up the dynamic of, you know, we're not really asking for much, you know, just this peninsula and that peninsula. The vast majority of their property, they have 4 other peninsulas, they have property at the south end of the lake that's very underdeveloped. You know, there's a lot of land that can still be developed. And if you look at what, you know, what's the market out here for the next 20 years? Are we going to get a lot of big new industry out here? Well, the next 4 dikes down, if you were to fill in the slips of water between each dike, that's another 100 acres that could be a major site for industry. It's going to be very expensive for them to put it together to fill in those slips. But having these old dikes designed in the 1920s and 30s, you know, built in the 50s, nobody wants to use them because they're too narrow. You can't use them for industrial uses anymore. So they need to fill in the water to connect all these dikes. All we're asking for is just this northern peninsula and the western peninsula. We call it the eastern and western peninsulas.
And for those of you, as we move forward with cameras, they want us not to take pictures of the Port Authority buildings. We'll be able to see that once we get up there. They're very sensitive to that, and it's time for us to move on so that John...
Okay, yeah, so no fog pictures. So from this point on, just wander. We'll be here half an hour. You can ask any of us questions. John Rockford, could you raise your hand? Oh, he's way up there.
Brown cow.
Well, I can do a close-up on this.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, if you could get any film of it, that would be fabulous. You can see both of their white heads right now.
Okay.
One on the nest and the other like at 2 o'clock. Oh, now one's flying. See, it's flying away. That's the eagle.
Okay.
Email him and be sure he signed it for you. There's bald eagles over there on the map.
I know they have some to the south by us.
Yeah, see that?
Having that strip of shape.
Yeah, see that blob of sticks over there?